Alrighty. Hello everybody. This is Kirusho here, and now, before I do get started, let me give a brief little review. In the last part, a number of events have happened. We had Deku. Deku, he's been cursed. Now, after Izuku was able to take the cursed one down, he restored a tree. The individual who was hunting in this area used their magics to poison it, along with hanging their prey from its branches. Deku, whenever he saw this, was quite not only disturbed, but quite aware that he needed to take them out. And after he caused more damage to the tree, after he was able to kill them, he decided to use his mana and restore it, not only taking the poison off the branches, but pruning the leaves and branches that were destroyed, dead, or that were currently in bad shape. Now, there was somebody Oliver chased after in the woods whenever Deku was having his battle. And Deku was aware that the druids were watching them. Whoever else was here did not intervene. However, after the druids told him about what they knew and how they are currently feeling about what happened and what they witnessed, Deku woke up the next morning with a note from their people, written on some dried leather and with a strange bracelet on his bedstand. However, Deku, he didn't find out until after he put it on. This was cursed. But the bracelet does give Deku access to an ability called Woodland Magic, where he has the ability to generate anything made from wood from his right hand and from that bracelet. And it is quite unique, since the bracelet won't come off. Now then, he also called Sir Theodore on his magical crystal, trying to figure out how in the hell he is going to be slaying a dragon. And this is a very good answer he does need, since right now they do arrive in the large city. And Izuku, he does see a few races of people walking around he hasn't. This quite surprising him. Him turning and seeing a man who does stand there, Elvin, walking around, looking around and waving and cheering. He is running to a group of people he does see. One of them is an orc. He doesn't even turn and see a goblin woman. That alarming him, since he thought goblins were cursed. Turning and seeing a hobgoblin. Them gonna walk by as their horses they do go to patter on the street. Continuously walking before the group, they do go to find the stables, letting their horses rest there, talking to some people and trying to get a lay of the land. Since right now, they need to find out where the guild hall is, and that it does mean quite a bit. The group going to find the directions and get there. As after a 10-minute walk, Deku, he's quite impressed. This place is incredible. It's amazing. And Pyra does get a turn, watching as Deku does watch a group of goblins walk by. His eyes locked on them. There's a girl with blonde hair, a girl with black hair, and they're not like what he thought they were. Not like the others that they fought. And he does a stare at that, before he does a turn, seeing a goblin man come running by. Him shouting as Deku immediately does a turn, grabbing his sword. And this is where she does to bring her hand up, putting a hand on his shoulder. The man running by quickly and turning to see Deku, who does look a little jumpy at the way he's acting. Him turning and waving him off before giving him a smile. And that does somewhat unnerve Deku. The man turning and running back, yelling something in the goblin tongue. And Deku, he does go to stand up fully and turn back, Pyra telling him they're not cursed. I thought they were. I'm sorry. They just. They look so normal. Normal? Yeah, the other ones that we saw before. They're like how you picture them. At least I believe in a lot of the tellings from my world. I see. Listen, Izuku, don't dwell on it. Them we can help. For right now, though, we're just around the corner. Them making their way inside people, they do a turn. Someone gonna turn and immediately gonna roar out, "It's the hero!" People turning and seeing Deku, who does step into the room, and some do begin to crowd him, wanting to get a good look at him. His hair tied back, his party, and right now the amulet that is hanging from his neck, the royal seal, and it, Deku is somewhat annoyed by. Him trying to walk over and talk to somebody at the desk, and the girl there just stare at Deku, her quite surprised, before she has to lean forwards and sidling to Deku, her expressing to him about how she was informed with a bit more time ahead that they would be coming here. Her standing up fully and expressing. It is quite nice that they are having the hero aid them on this. Slaying this beast will be quite good. And Izuku does look down at the paper, it showing off about what the guild does have for him. The woman going to quickly move out from behind the little area she's in before informing him, going to throw the board up and walk past it, about how he really should follow her, since right now this is a bit more of a private matter for them to deal with. His quest is important, and they will send some people to go fetch the other individuals who might be helping him on this. Deku nodding, before he does go to follow them to a private room and sit down, being given some refreshments and sweets as his assistant sit there, going to bring up a cup of tea in a wooden cup. A lot going through his mind. And they do wait. Currently, Pyra sitting down with Deku and trying to go over this parchment again. The one that does have written Elvish. Along with her, even trying to at least get him to say a few words. And Izuku, it is a way to pass time. It does help him quite a bit. Being able to read Elvish will take him a lot more time, but it might be a useful skill. It's another language from another world. Learning it might come with some advantages. Plus, if he does decide to use, well, incantations, spellcasting with words, it definitely might be another advantage. Plus, with this new power of his, if he has to use their language for it to be efficient, he might as well. It's going to take some time, but he's got to do what he's got to do. Especially if he's going to be stuck with this stupid thing. That a thought that is going to pass through his mind. A little annoyed about it. He won't be able to take off that stupid bracelet. It tightens to his wrist whenever it thinks he's going to fight. But at least it does loosen up. And it's not like some stupid death grip thing. Yeah, that amount of pressure, he doesn't know how he feels about that. It makes his hand feel a little weird. Then again, it does still work. Right. That on his mind, Deku somewhat sitting there, somewhat mumbling a word in Elvish he can understand. One he's been muttering for a bit of time. When he has to stare at his hand, him focusing as he has to have this bracelet slightly glow. As right now, their ears are branches, they are somewhat trying to twist around and focus on Deku's palm, them climbing around his fingers and covering his entire hand. Deku is staring at this, before it does continue to grow. And there's the door to open. Deku cutting his stream of mana, and it does begin to retreat, climbing back down and going into his wrist. Currently, him watching it disappear before he has a look up. Seeing a few people. Right now, him seeing someone walk in who is carrying two blades on their waist. Seeing a large woman who does have green skin and some tusk. Her carrying a large hammer over her shoulder. And Izuku does get a turn. A man walking in who does begin to express. I know him in heavy armor talking about it. It is quite nice to see him. Bringing up his hand and he's going to slam it against his chest. It making a loud thud, expressing. He will be here to aid the hero. And he is quite happy that they are here. Him looking over towards Oliver, who does get a stand, ready to see what this man might be. It wasn't the knight, the man who looks the part. But this one here, that should be it. Deku jumping up and turning around. The man's face going a bit more puzzled, as he has heard tales of the hero's journey. He saved a city, a small village. But this is not right. And Deku, he does go to approach the man, bringing his hand up and introducing himself as Izuku. Talking about how there's a lot that they have going on at the moment. They don't have a lot of time. He's only got about, well, 4-5 days before he has to get back. He still has to continue his training. Plus, they do have to go to York. Deku bring his left hand up, putting it behind his head as the man does a shake Deku's, looking down and seeing the band that does cover his wrist, looking back up with a little bit more confidence. Deku expressing, the man going to shake his hand about how he does have to continue his training. Him gonna currently turn, going to talk about it. He is known as Hurst, and he is an adventurer who has been contacted about helping them out here. And this would be the woman stepping forwards. Before she is going to talk about it, they may call her Bula. She's of the Orc clan, one of the many that do make up her nation. She's heard tales of him already. She wants to challenge him in combat. Okay, Bula, now is not the time for that. I wish to test his mettle. Her turning to Hurst, expressing she would be honored to fight him first. And this will be quite good. She will not listen to him, nor will she take anything from him if he is weak. And Deku, he does hear that. Before there is the person carrying two blades, they do to bring up their hands, pulling them back as they do go to pull their hood off and reveal a set of purple hair. They go turning and staring at a goblin man who does get to talk about it. Now is not the time for this. Him saying in very strange English, trying to pronounce it hard, as he does try to talk about it. They don't have time. And everyone, they do just don't stare at that. Before Deku does it ask, if they're gonna fight, Hurst telling Bula, again, they can't. Right now they're wasting time when they could be tracking down the Wyvern. The Wyvern? Wait, so it's not a dragon? Wyvern is still a form of dragon, hero. Bula expressing, talking about how the only difference she does see is the big lizard has its wings for hands. That's it. And Hurst does talk about it. They can't just burst in there without a plan. They need one. And right now, what they do currently know, it is going to cause them quite the bit of grief. If they do go directly out there to fight, there is no telling what problems they will encounter. And the man, he has to turn back before he does try to talk about it. Right now, he does want to know about his proficiencies. What magics he does know. Is there any he can't use? I mean, the strange thing on his wrist, he's sensing energy from it. They do seem strange. I understand. As far as I know, there's not a lot of magic I can't use. I'd have to learn it before, however. Of course, but I don't believe we have a lot of time to teach you new magic. No, not like that. Currently, Rosa stepping in, expressing to the man. The boy does learn very fast. He learned fire magic within a day of being in this world. The man turning back, more impressed by what he just heard. And this, it does mean quite a lot. That sounds very powerful. So if this boy can do it, that would be interesting. Perhaps he can take it on. Deku hearing this, before there is Bula hearing that he's powerful this much already, she is somewhat bouncing on her feet, waiting for a chance to fight him. And Deku, he does sense this. Right now, talking about how they need to figure this all out. Is it some sort of special dragon? Does it breathe fire? Huh, of course it does not breathe fire, boy. That sounds absurd. Okay, that's good. It breathes a cloud of poison. Deku's face dropping, and he does a stare at the man, as if what he said was not ridiculous. It breathes poison? Yes, a cloud of it. It is unknown as to why. We do not know its mechanism, nor what it is. Many of the books we have, they don't mention much about dragons. Slaying it before it can do harm to the area around us would do us some good. It lives in a cave, about, I'd say, 3 hours west of here. West? Yes. Okay. What else other than that? Not much. I believe we can ride. Maybe set up camp tonight, somewhere outside the city, after we prepared. Much then, we can do more. I believe that we can gain the upper hand. Send some people ahead, do reconnaissance. I'm aware that your steeds are tired from the journey. They are. They are. But 3 hours, so at most I'd have 4 days. That does still do us some good. How about we do a bit more than that, though? What do you mean? We need to let our steeds rest. If we were just to run out there, try and get prepared, that'd do us some good. I'm sure we need to make a plan, though. Deku turning, trying to think about what they should do. They've already split the party once, but right now they've got about 7 people here. So their mounts are tired. That's 4 horses. They have 3. Okay. That's interesting then. Hmm. something wrong? I'm thinking about this in my head. We can scout ahead, yeah, but that could have got us into some trouble. We don't know what we'll be dealing with. We don't know the terrain and nothing like that, and while you guys might know the area, how well do you all know it? Not well? Unsure. Deku looking towards the Goblin Man, who does go to shake his head no. And he does understand this. So they don't know the area. Pyra gonna step in, talking about how she could probably get a lay of the land pretty quickly, but she would need a ride. A steed? I understand that. We could provide you with one for now. And I see what you're talking about. Yeah. So some of us could ride ahead, get a lay of the area, find out more, look into this wyvern. For right now, though, we also could prepare, start coming up with strategies, things like that. How much is this quest paying? About 15 gold. It is quite interesting, but it would pay more if the parts are brought back. Okay, okay. So there's a lot riding on this. Okay. How dangerous would you say a wyvern is? What do you mean? How powerful are they? Do you have any idea? I don't have a proper scale of beast. Or, well, some of them. Creatures are not my forte. I know a slime could be stomped on enough, but that's about it. Other than just a well-placed arrow could kill certain things, but I don't think I have an arrow big enough for a dragon. Unless you got a pretty big spear. Bula somewhat laughing out. And Hurst does talk about it. They could fashion something large for him to wield, if that is his fear. But a surprise attack may not work. They are tough and durable. He'd say that that one's about as large as a carriage, if not larger. But what do you mean? Him gonna walk over to a window. Before he does go to bring his hand up, looking around where he tap the glass, telling Izuku, who does gonna walk over and looking back outside, about how if he does look down there, there is that house. That one? Yes. There. I'd say it's an accurate size. It is a large creature. Whenever it does have its wings out, however, it might be larger. It is large. I see. So, I'm fighting something the size of a house. Not a large one. Okay, okay. That does make me feel a bit better, though. It's not that big. Though, it still has me concerned. So we need to look ahead. I can go, but I do need some time to rest and prepare. Yesterday's adventure didn't really do a lot for me. I see. Are you just off of your training? I am, yes. I'm concerned, however. We need to do this right. No, I need to do this right. I don't want people to think I'm not trying. Do you think I can face it alone? Are you mad? I'm just asking. I'm a hero, aren't I? I should be able to. Bula going to step forwards, talking about it. Every great warrior has a moment where they think they can fight alone. She likes that. She'd be willing to bet he might be able to. However, she has yet to test his mettle, and that she would love to test. If he's willing to, they'll fight. If he wins, then she'll say he has what it takes. However, if he does have the proper skills and tactic, that is also important. So, will he take her up on her challenge? It would be a great way for Hurst to tell. Her smiling at the man, and he doesn't look at Bula before he just wants Sai talking about it, turning and telling Izuku. If he does so wish, they can fight. He will hold judgment till afterwards. And this, it's where the group do currently leave. People watching Deku go as Bula does get a roar out about their battle. And the crowd, it does bring together whenever they do to go to the training area outside. Deku, he does stand there. Right now, him turning and seeing people staring on. The large orc woman, who does stand at around 7.5 feet tall, holding a large hammer. Her swinging it around in one hand. And that thing, it is sort of intimidating. Made of some large metal. And from what he can tell, a sturdy handle. Okay, he's fighting a larger opponent. A tougher opponent? She reminds him. Get a hold of yourself. She reminds him of Sir Theodore. Large, massive, and powerful. Though, does she have the speed that he has? Maybe not. Theodore doesn't use a big weapon like that. So she's got to be slower, but more powerful. And that is on Deku's mind. As right now, there is where Pyra, she does go to bring her hands up. Her whistling with her hand in her mouth, signaling the start of their match. And Izuku does it stare at the woman who does begin to step forwards. Him looking up at her before he is to bring his hand down and draw his blade. Right now, him holding it up as he does go to bring his right arm up, twisting his wrist, bringing it up to his left shoulder and going to grab it with his hand. Before he does relax his grip forwards and hold the weapon. This showing off that Deku is ready to defend. And the woman does a step forwards, quickly rushing away towards Deku, who does go to step forwards as well. Right now, her swinging her hammer overhead, and Deku, he does go to move quickly to the right, and she does a turn. Alarm of the hammer is a smash on the ground, going to create a crater around their feet. That he is very fast. Turning and going to throw up her leg. Before Deku, he does go to slide underneath it and turn, bringing his weapon up as she does not turn. Right now, her going to grab towards her other waist and grabbing her sword. Going to turn and slash at Deku's. Deku, watching that before the woman, does get to grab her hammer in her left hand. Right now, her going to keep the sword up and ready. Before she does go to step forwards and yell at the hero about what they'll be doing. And Deku does it to watch that. Her swinging the sword and then going to turn, swinging the hammer at Deku. Deku being put on the back foot and evading the hammer that almost hit him in the head. Before he's a step forwards and slash out with his sword. Her bring up the hammer as Deku does a smash in the long handle that is on this large device. Her thing reverberate through before she does throw her foot up. Her kicking out at Deku, who does bring his own foot up, blocking the attack but still being sent flying. Him smashing down and landing before he is to start the orc lady. Before his eyes do begin to glow and his unique skill spirit does it activate. Her watching that, and Deku does begin to pour with mana. Before he does go to bring his hands up and grab his sword. Reno watching as Deku, his blade does get covered in fire, and the crowd do just won't roar out seeing this. As Deku, he does just stare at her, holding the blade up, and then gonna throw his blade over his head, slashing down as a large fire slash does go ripping through the air. Her watching that and stepping out of the way, as she does gonna watch it fly past her and disperse. Watching as Deku does gets another slash from his left to his right, blasting it out towards her. Her moving in and gonna drop the hammer, bring up her sword as she does a throw it over her head and slash at Deku, who doesn't see that and throw his sword out. The two swords clashing as right now they do to meet. Right now, the blade's gonna create a small shockwave that does gonna reverberate through the area. And everyone, they do the full silent, feeling the wind hit their face. Deku holding his blade up and pushing back. The Orc woman putting a lot of force down and trying to push Deku. As right now Izuku, he does get to hold his blade up. Her pushing more and more as she does go to throw up one of her legs. Deku being kicked in the gut and sent flying backwards, sliding backwards as he does a throw his sword around and go to throw his hand down. Them both digging into the ground as he does go to sit there for a second, looking up and watching the Orc woman, who does go to bring up her blade and then go to begin to say something, bringing her hand up to her body as she does being aglow with magic, and that Deku does not like, as there is where Hurst does get a yell at Bula, telling her not to harm him, and that this is not a battle that serious. Casting wasn't part of the plan, was it? And she's a turn, informing her friend that he's powerful, and she truly does wish to test him. It is not worth their time if he cannot stand this. Her stepping forwards, and Deku does watch her step off with more speed than he thought she had. Him going to quickly jump to his feet and throw his blade out. Her going to throw down her weapon as the two lead to clash again. And people are going to watch that. Deku pushing back her blade as she does gets an off the back foot. Her throwing her weapon down again as Deku, he has to throw out his again. The two clashing again. And people watching do to watch this, feeling some of the wind coming from those strikes. And Hurst does mean to see it. Deku is on footing with her. Before there is where she does go throw out her arm, her throwing an attack at Deku, who does go to sidestep the attack as he does spin, throwing his sword over his head and going to slash out towards her. Before she is going to spin her blade and going to catch it with a flat strike. Right now Deku striking down with more strength than he wanted to. As her blade, she's going to feel it somewhat crack in her hand. Her, right now, being sent on the back foot as Deku does a leap forwards, going to throw himself forwards as she does go slash down. Deku going to evade the slash and throw up his left hand, striking her in the stomach again very hard. This sending her flying backwards as she's going to slide. Her, right now, going to stand there before she's going to hold up her weapon. Her staring at Deku as the two, they do go to hold out their weapons towards each other, rushing towards each other and clashing once more. And Izuku, he does go to feel his blade be destroyed. Right now, him hearing it shatter. And Bula, she is quite surprised when her blade, it does go to get cleaved into two. The strike destroying her own. And right now there is where Deku does his own step backwards, looking up as her blade, it is still breaking. Him dropping his weapon as she's to look up, Deku rushing forwards and throwing both of his fists out, slamming both of them on top of each other and into her stomach. Her, right now, sliding backwards before she does go to fall backwards. Her smashing to the ground. before she's a turn, going to climb to her feet and go to turn back to Deku, smiling with a mouth full of blood, her spitting some of it out before climbing to her feet, bringing her hands up and telling the hero about how if they are going to go with traditional combat, this would be fun. And Izuku does hold up his hands. Before he does try to think, bring his own hands up and going to grab his armor. Her watching as Deku, he does go to untie his breastplate and then go to turn. Him tossing it to the ground as he does go to do the same thing with the armor covering his arms. And she does somewhat laugh at people who see Deku doing this, unsure why he'd sacrifice the armor, unsure of anything. And there is, from Izuku's perspective, their strength is somewhere close to each other. She's not taking him seriously, but her body, she's using magic on it. The type he does not know. This doesn't mean much. He's without a weapon, but he can still fight. So he switches to magic. This on Deku's mind. Bring up his hands as he does have his palms open. Right now, him thinking as he does this on close his hands and then gonna close them fully into fist. Her staring at Deku as the aura does begin to surround him, and people are staring on. They believe these two are using the same magic. But Deku, he does look at her. Before she does go step forwards, and he does go to do the same thing. Right now the two going to move in a flash and go to collide. Her going to punch Deku across the face as Deku, he is able to strike her directly in the chest. Him going to turn and throw his foot up. For she does gotta throw her arm out and to grab Deku by his foot. It catching her on the side as she's to pick Deku up. And the moment that's gonna happen, Deku, he does try to spin. Him going to throw his hand backwards and blast out wind magic, allowing him to do so. Before he has a spin around, and the extra momentum does allow his foot to catch her directly in the face. Him kicking her as blood does it a fly. And people, they do roar out watching that. Before Deku, he does this at flying backwards. Him flipping and landing on the ground. Before he does go to throw his weight forwards and then a lunge forwards on the front of his feet. Him smashing directly in the orc woman before he's a tackler to the ground. Climbing on top of her and bringing his hand up. And asking her if she's going to yield. And she does a stare at that. Before telling him, orcs don't play that way, throwing her hand up. This time, Deku going to be caught in the side as she does a throw her hand up. Deku going to take a blow directly to the face as his nose, it does begin to spray blood. And Deku, he sent flying off of her. And her fist was hard. Right now, Deku thinking about his sparring matches with Sir Theodore. Before his brain is snapped back to reality by a second punch, sending him flying and skidding across the ground. Before he does a turn, thinking if he can win, unsure. If he can't face off against a damn orc, then how can he slay a wyvern? One with magic. Him turning, staring at her as she doesn't start huffing and puffing. And Izuku, he does try to stop that line of thinking, stop the doubt, stop trying to put himself down. He's hurt her. He can tell that much. And right now, he still feels good, still feels great. Yeah, his nose hurts, but that's about it. He doesn't have any slashes, cuts, but she's losing strength. And this does not reinforce Deku. Him giving a smile as his teeth do show blood in his mouth. And the orc does go to clap her hands, telling the hero that this is what she did want. Before she does go to part them again and express to him about how she's going to turn up her magic a bit. So, things might get a little intense. If he's not prepared for it, he may very well die. Does he understand? And Deku's aura does flare. Her watching Deku's ability do the exact same thing. Before she is covered in a green glow, her body having it dissipate as it is still somewhat radiated around her, almost like a faint light. Well, Deku's, it can be clearly seen. And this, it does give a lot of people questions. How powerful is his magic? And this is where Bula does gonna run forwards. Her and Deku gonna meet in the middle as Deku does throw up his hands. Her trying to smash him down on the shoulders. Where Deku does throw his hands up and catch both of her arms. Right now, them going to feel the ground beneath them somewhat give way. And the two, they do just don't stand there. Deku holding her arms up and beginning to push her back. Before she just stare down directly into his face. Before Deku does go to lunge forwards and smash her directly in the nose with his head. Her going to stumble backwards as Deku does a Russian, throwing his fist directly across her face and smashing her across. Before he does go to step forwards again, blasting her in the face where he does his blaster directly in the chest. And this is where people, due to watch as Bula does throw her arm down, smashing it down directly on Deku's shoulder as he does go to throw up his arm. Him going to take the attack and smash her in the chest again, knocking the wind from the the orc. Right now, her going to begin wheezing out breath before she's to throw her foot up. Her smashing Deku directly in the chest. Deku sliding backwards and wheezing out air. Before he does a look up and she does rush at him with a lot more intensity. Her taking Deku completely serious. As right now when she has a smash Deku to the ground, Deku does lay there, her ready to climb on top of him and give him a blow to the face, before someone does scream out that the match is over. And all of them, they do get a turn. Right now, them seeing somebody walk up and informing the orc woman about exactly what they've seen. And she does goes on huff and puff breath before turning to the man, who does a step in, informing her. The hero is not to be challenged in this manner. They asked him here for aid. Save the matches for the tournament. And she does a turn before climbing up and turning to Deku, offering her hand, and Deku's a look up. Him taking it, and so I'm going to turn, spitting some of the blood from his mouth as she does congratulate him, talking about how she's broken many things with her fist, though it was quite informative. He is powerful. Thanks. You are too. You are right. Jaw hurts. I'm not surprised. Surprised it's still on. What do you mean? I was using magic. You were? Yes, I was. Her turning, crossing her arms and informing Deku. She was using her combat magic, and that does mean quite a bit. Talking about how Deku's magic is quite interesting. It must be quite the high level. You have a spirit skill? Spirit? No. Orcs call it combat magic. I believe in common it is called reinforcement. Yours is called spirit. Yes, it is, but I don't think it makes me any stronger. I just feel... I don't know. I'm still figuring that one out. I've kind of only got it at level 2. The orc having her eyes go wide, as if that was a level 2 skill. What was... You were not using any other magic? No, I wasn't. Other than the sword earlier, whenever I used flame magic, that was it. I see. Well then, I can sufficiently say that you can handle this. Her turning, talking about how she will go find him a blacksmith, since they do need to get him properly kitted out with a real weapon, since that one was destroyed. And Deku, he does try to get her to wait up. However, there is where Rosa does come walking over, handing him a potion and trying to see if he's alright. And Izuku, after he is all healed up, he does still try to strategize with everybody here. The party will split. 4 of them will head out there. They'll get a lay of the land and figure this out. Meanwhile, Deku needs to get the right gear to fight this dragon, make a plan, and then try to execute it. However, there is one thing that does not bother him. If he does try to handle this dragon on his own, the royal court can't say he had assistance. They can't try to just say that somebody else did it for him. He can prove to them that way. These people might bear witness to what he does. But that's another thing. To be a hero means to be a leader, to be a champion. It means that, well, he might have a set of ideals that he must do something that... That's the whole thing about this. He's trying to figure out this warrior's code, and it does somewhat unsettle him. Deku currently sitting there, right now back at the guild hall, and trying to think, looking at the available points he does have in his system. They're going to be fighting a dragon that breathes clouds of poison. He already has level 3 in his poison tolerance, but maybe upgrade that more? Going more into strength, magic. That's not good. This reinforcement magic, though, that could be quite good. Help give them the edge? Okay. His mana reserves are still high. So, let's see what the skill's available. Deku looking around, before not finding anything. He doesn't have the proper requirements yet for that magic. His strength is still too low. Though, he might be able to find the spell in a book. If he does go out and find it, or know someone who could teach it to him, that could be good. Though, strengthening his body. Yeah. He might need to have to dump the rest of these points into strength and poison if he wants to fight a wyvern. There's on Deku's mind. He'll handle it on his own. If things get too hairy, they can get involved. He can weaken it, get its attention, and if things get too dicey, they can take it out when there's an opening. Right. No, this does have him concerned. This on his mind. Deku biting the bullet. Since right now he does need to upgrade his strength and poison. Deku looking at this menu, dumping 5 points into his strength, and then going to put 3 more into his reflexes. And right now, he does try to think. Currently, him hearing his system inform him about a few things. Before Deku, he does go to put 6 points into his poison tolerance. Right now that jumping up to 9. And Deku, he is trying to think. Currently, him going to go over to his skill tree and try and find something. Before he does see some skills popping up, looking into them and trying to find the one he's searching for. Deku going to see magical reinforcement. It going to somewhat show off what the skill does give him the ability to do. It will allow him to reinforce his body against attacks, take on more damage. However, the more mana he does pour into it, the more powerful against damage his body does become. It is like wearing a set of armor. However, turning off this magic will allow him to return to normal speed. And Deku can see why this is a bit more interesting. You sacrifice a bit of speed for strength. Along with that, it does provide a strength boost. It's only 10%, but that's still pretty good. But let's see. Deku clicking on the skill before going to read along further down the pathway and seeing that it does get better. The more you do improve this skill, the more interesting things do become. Okay, this isn't a physical magic, but it is still interesting. Okay, he can keep that in mind. Though, he'll just spec one level into this right now. He's almost out of points. This on Deku's mind. Before he does go to watch the thing unlock, and he does go to stand. Currently, his body beginning to glow with the magic. Deku getting a feel for it as he does pour his magic and focus into this skill. And he just don't stand there, bringing his hand up and feeling how powerful it does make him. He does feel a little heavy. Though swinging his arms around, he can definitely feel a small difference. Deku throwing one of his fists out and then going to throw the other one out. And it feels like his arms are covered in concrete. Jesus. If he took a punch like this, then yeah. But her magic was stronger. This making Deku feel better. Maybe he can take it on. Maybe? Yeah, no. He has to take it on. Deku's eyes flashing with his skill. In this, it does make him a bit more intrigued. I'll keep it at level 1 for right now. And there is where the orc woman does come back into the room. Her holding a belt that does have a newly made sword for him, along with 2 daggers on the side. And Izuku, he is quite surprised. The orc woman going to set the belt down and inform Deku about how if he does need to prepare, she does suggest he does do so soon, since they do need to figure out what is happening. If this thing does get on the move, they may waste a day waiting for it. And Deku does get a nod. Her turning to leave as Deku does still somewhat sit there, wanting to learn more, wanting to practice more. I mean, this is incredible. Deku gonna sit there before he does bring his hands together and try to think. And with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed and have an amazing day. I'll catch you guys in the next one.